Hello everyone, welcome back. Happy New Year. Welcome back to the Corporate Podcast. I hope everyone had a nice Christmas and a nice New Year, yeah? Everyone here?
Yes.
Good. Right, it's going to be a lot shorter today, so we only have two of us today. So we've got Stuart, of course, and then we have Danielle. Now, I'm sure most people will, but for anyone who doesn't, do you want to introduce yourself and tell us what you do?
Sure. So I'm Danielle Sidley. I'm the new appointed Director of Employment for Pure. I've worked for Pure for quite a long time, nearly 12 years now. Different roles throughout the employment team. So, yeah, happy to be joining today.
Good, yes, happy to have you here too. Now, obviously, we normally go around the table and discuss different topics, but there's not that many of us here. And as Stuart was pointing out before the podcast, whenever someone's new, Louise tends to grill this person, gets as many answers out of him as she can. So Stuart has kindly agreed to step up and take Louise's place. But I think I'll just start. Have you got some notes with you, Stuart?
I certainly have, Harry.
And we'll start with you, then take it away.
Please be kind to me, Stuart.
It is in my nature to be kind. First of all, I'd just like to comment on our recent trading performance. We've been marginally under our budget the last couple of months, but that's largely due to some one-off items of expenditure. But our bottom line of the year, our profit, is going to be ahead of what we anticipated in the budget, due to the extent that we had really good results in the first 6 months of the year. If Pete was here, he would be talking about the big investment that we've made since the last podcast, which is the installation of solar panels across at Prospect, and he would be talking very eloquently about the extent to which he spends his days these days looking at how much electricity the solar panels have been generating. So on some days, even in the middle of winter, they're generating about half of the electricity that we're using at Prospect. Not all, it isn't all through the day, but in certain hours we can generate half of the electricity we use, even in December and January. So the solar panels, the electric vehicles we've got, those are all significant investments towards a more sustainable future. As well as being a more sustainable future, actually it's really important that we evidence that sustainability within our bids and our tenders. It can sometimes be the difference between winning work and not winning work. So there is a double-edged impact to what we're doing here. And we will be saving the planet, saving money, but also winning work. We had a meeting of SMT earlier this week, and perhaps in anticipation that there might be some questions around this, we talked about how much money we set aside for trips and how much money was available for the Access Festival later this year. So good news, there is money in both those pots for events later this year. Don't ask me the question Pete always gets asked, what events are coming up and trips coming up in the next few weeks, because I don't know the answer to that. Okay, and the last element is that over the last few podcasts I've talked about 4 elements of the finance strategic pillar, and I've probably bored people to death with them. Thank you for confirming that, Harry.
Yeah, no.
The good news is that we basically got a tick against all those 4 elements, and so we're putting those to bed and coming up with a different 4 elements, which will be all part of the strategic rollout. So for those of you listening who are employees, during the course of March, there are a number of events taking place to which staff will be invited, which will be explaining to staff the new strategy and also as tempter to get people there, just what the pay increases will be, which I think people may be more interested than really about the strategy. But we're doing both, and you'll be notified pretty shortly about events taking place in both in Stockport and in other parts of the Greater Manchester area we cover. So watch this space for that.
Sounds great.
Thank you.
You said pay rise. I was like, ooh. Okay, good stuff. So, Danielle, have you got anything like wrote down that you wanted to speak about?
Yeah, I can talk a little bit about employment. So I can talk a little bit about where I'm up to as a new director for Pure, because as you might be aware, it's a bit of a development plan for me. So I've not picked up all of employment yet. I'm picking up little bits as we go on. And my first big job was to really replace myself as the contract manager for the IPS team. And we've got Ben Maloney, who has started with Pure as the new IPS contract manager. He's doing brilliant. Really successful start to his employment with us at Pure. And I've very recently started picking up working with Pete Rosenblum, who looks after our supported employment contracts as well. And I'm looking forward, I'm really excited, because that means I get to go and have a look at some of the different projects that Pete manages. He works with our Futures, our Manchester and the SMBC team. So I'm looking forward to getting a little bit more acquainted with the staff working on those projects and learning about what the day-to-day looks like. And then shortly after that, I'll be approaching the internships as well, so I'm looking forward to getting back involved with that. I did used to work on internships quite a few years ago. On internships, Christine King is the new contract manager for our supported internships. She is brilliant, and I'm very confident she's going to do a fantastic job as our new contract manager on the internships. And I suppose that's a little bit of an overview of where we are, I think, at the moment.
Danielle, what are you looking forward to most about your new job?
What am I looking forward to? So, I like to do lots of different things, and I think I work really well when I'm spinning lots of different projects at the same time and trying to, not drop anything, I suppose. And I love the diversity of the role. There's always a lot of diversity at Pure. In any job that I've done, I've been able to dip in and out of different things, and you can always work to what you're interested in as well. And I think that's a real benefit for working at Pure. But I'm looking forward to just getting out there, learning about the different roles, getting familiar with different contracts. We have lots of different supported employment contracts, and they're all a bit different and a little bit complicated in their own unique way. So it's getting familiar with everything, learning everything that's to come.
You talked about you moving from IPS and Ben having joined us from the growth company to take on that contract management. Can you explain a bit more what IPS means and what that's about?
Yeah, so IPS is a supported employment contract that works to support people with severe mental illness and help them get a job. So quite often we're getting referrals from people who've been really poorly with things like schizophrenia, psychosis, bipolar, people who've usually been in hospital recovering from a mental illness, and it can be really scary, I think, going back into work after being out of work for a while, and having been in such a bad place as well when those people were unwell. So our IPS team will work with those people, work very closely with the clinical teams as well, the community mental health teams, the early intervention teams, as a bit of a 360 approach, so that those people who are recovering are getting the care that they need, things like therapy, counselling, things like that. That will come from the clinical team, and then we're doing the more practical stuff, helping people get a job. It's part of the puzzle that you have to put back together, I think, when you're in recovery.
You talked about 360 degree. Can you just clarify what that means?
Yes. So by a 360 approach, I mean different professionals working together. So we might be working on the employment support side of it, but it's an approach where you're working with clinical professionals, nurses, social workers who are picking up other pieces that maybe we're not qualified to do. We're employment, but all working together in a really person-centred way to understand what that individual needs and how best to help them. Having that team approach is very, very effective, and we do get really good outcomes.
Do you want to just talk about our little history that Pure has been in the IPS market?
Yeah.
Just so that you can just put some context to what that all is.
So we picked up our first IPS contract back in 2020, and it was with the Greater Manchester Combined Authority. And at the time, it was a really big contract for Pure. It was 5 geographical areas in Greater Manchester, and when we were bidding for the contract, we felt it was maybe a little bit too big for us at the time, so we brought in a subcontractor. So we worked very closely with Possibilities, who were another provider, and they delivered Rochdale and Bury. They're brilliant. We worked very, very well with them. And over the years, we've done very, very well, and the service has grown, and we're now in a position where we are the prime contractor for the whole of Greater Manchester, for Pennine Care, for Greater Manchester Mental Health, delivering IPS service in every locality across GM. You know, Wigan, Bolton, Rochdale, Bury, Tameside, Trafford, Stockport. I don't know where I've missed. Oldham. So every single area.
Of course, Oldham's the only one.
Yeah. So every single area we are working in. We do have a second subcontractor, which is the Growth Company, who are leading in Wigan, Salford and Manchester. But I remember the conversations very early days around, wow, this contract's really big. When we were looking at the data, I remember thinking, oh, we bit off a little bit more than we can chew at one point, but we've turned it around, and that's due to the people working on it, the people, the staff who work on it. People, you know, Andrea Blinko, who's a team leader now, started as an employment specialist. There's other people on the team. Vicky Edge started as an employment specialist, now a team leader, who have worked incredibly hard and gone above and beyond for the people who are accessing that service. Really cared on a human level, and made sure that every person accessing for support had their needs met. And it's testament to the staff who are running, you know, with it, the staff who are working with the participants on the contract, that it's done so well.
You talked about, you know, managing Peaks, Rosenbloom and Manchester and Stockport. Do you want to just mention the good news we had this week?
Yes, so we have been successful in the new Manchester bid. So that's a partnership with 2 subcontractors providing support to people with autism in Greater Manchester.
Yeah, so that's potentially a 2-year contract that we've got, that we're operating with Respect for All and I Am Autism in Manchester, and we got to know about that on Monday this week, so that's going to start pretty damn quick and run for a couple of years. So that's
exciting.
A very good project for Pure, and it's a very exciting opportunity to develop our skills in that area, along with our partners.
Lovely.
I've out of questions to ask Danielle. Does anybody else wish to?
I guess it's down to these guys. So when you guys were coming in, it seemed like that you guys already knew each other. That you knew Ashcan and you knew Rob. So did you work at support as well?
No, I've not worked in support, but I've worked for Pure for quite a long time. So back in the days when we had the Sanderling building, I think.
Yeah. What was she like?
Yeah.
Rob? It's a good thing, yeah. All right.
He's saying nothing.
But yeah, no, do you guys have anything that you want? Obviously, it can be anything, but just remember, there's not everyone here, so they might not have the answer for you. But is there anything related to Pure that you guys want to ask? Or are we all a bit of a blank slate?
Yeah.
Stuart's already shut down the trip question, so
I don't know.
I don't think.
no, there's nothing to add. No,
No, I think I got mental health, and I had quite difficult time back in 2017 with mum and dad, where I had mental health issues. That's why I came to Pure to help myself.
well that's nice then. It's nice to know that Pure's helped you out along the way, and I suppose that's what we're here for, isn't it? Yeah.
So yeah.
So you guys all right then? All
Yeah.
settled up?
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely the shortest one we've ever done. I've not got anything else to say.
Is it a record then? Is
That's
it?
right. It's definitely a record.
Probably just one thing we ought
Yes.
to mention, Harry, since the last podcast, there has been a certain production I've heard about. Would you like to comment on it?
My production.
Yes.
Oh right, yeah, yeah. Christmas Carol was just put on by yours truly and Eloise and Homer and all the drama guys. It went really well, as they always tend to do. Thank God. But yeah, no, there was quite a big turnout this time. Saw a lot more people there than we normally do. So it seems to be getting bigger every single time we do it, which is nice. We've got the next show for the summer, which is we're going to be auditioning for on Friday. So yeah, that's exciting. That'll be sometime around the July.
What's that called?
It's going to be Shrek, actually, because the group's so big now. It's hard to do certain plays because there's not enough characters. So it was either going to be that or Jungle Book. So only one person voted for Jungle Book in the end because, as you know, everyone's obsessed with Shrek, aren't they?
Jungle Book's alright.
Jungle Book is great, but I mean, obviously because Shrek's a bit more modern, I suppose it just has a bigger appeal. But yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, that's about as interesting as I get on these podcasts. So yeah, I mean, yeah, that's nothing else from me. Thanks for coming. It was nice to meet you. But yeah, right, we'll call it a day. We'll be back in another 2 months, which will be March.